Sweden has more billionaires per capita than almost any country on Earth. But you'd never know it walking down a street in Stockholm. No flashy cars, no watches flexed in every photo, no lifestyle built to be noticed. Just quiet, patient wealth, built up over generations, sitting right next to people who'd never mention it. Meanwhile, a lot of us are working hard, earning a decent income, and somehow still living paycheck to paycheck. Here's the actual difference. It isn't luck, and it isn't income. It's a set of small, unglamorous daily habits, repeated so consistently, they stop feeling like decisions at all. 9 of them today, the real reasoning behind each one, and exactly how to start tonight. Stick around because number 6 involves a rule most people have never heard of, and it might be the single biggest lever on this list. If you're tired of feeling broke despite doing everything right, stay with me. Let's get into the first one. 1. The household ledger. Long before spreadsheets, Swedish households kept something called a hushållsbok, a physical ledger where every purchase got written down by hand. Sounds outdated, except writing it down does something an app quietly doesn't. Most people genuinely could not tell you where last month's paycheck went. It just dissolved. A subscription here, a delivery order there, nothing dramatic enough to remember, everything dramatic enough to add up. Picture 2 people with identical incomes. One tracks every purchase by hand for 30 days. The other doesn't. The tracker isn't restricting anything, they're just seeing it, clearly, for the first time. Studies on expense tracking consistently show awareness alone tends to reduce spending by somewhere around 10 to 15%, not from willpower, from simply no longer being able to unsee it. Tonight's version. A small notebook, not an app. For 30 days, write down everything no matter how small. Review it once at the end of the week. That's the entire habit. 2. Pant and Loppis, deposit and secondhand culture. Sweden runs one of the most effective bottle and can deposit return systems in the world. Pant, built directly into the price of nearly every drink you buy. You already paid the deposit. Most people just never collect it back. Alongside that sits Loppis culture, flea markets, and secondhand shops treated as a normal first stop, not a last resort, for furniture, clothing, tools, almost anything. The mindset underneath both is the same. An object's value doesn't end the first time it's used, and money left uncollected is still your money. This week's version. Before buying anything at full retail price, check secondhand first and actually go collect whatever small deposits you've been letting slide. It's not dramatic. It adds up anyway. 3. LaGOM. Small, consistent enough. Sweden has a word that resists a clean translation. LaGOM. Not too much, not too little, exactly enough. Applied to money, it's a small, repeatable adjustment made slightly better every week, forever. Save $5 more this week than last week, not 50. 5. Increase it slightly again next week. Small enough that it's genuinely impossible to fail at, which is exactly the point, because the habit that survives is the one that never asked you to be a different person overnight. 4. Purpose, without the financial cliff. A lot of people stay in work they don't enjoy simply because leaving feels too risky. Denmark runs something economists call flexicurity, a labor system that makes it realistically possible to change careers or pursue more meaningful work without the catastrophic risk that usually comes attached elsewhere. Here's why that matters for your wallet, not just your happiness. Work you find tolerable doesn't need to be constantly compensated for with spending, the retail order after a rough day, the vacation booked purely to escape Monday. People with that kind of security consistently report spending less on coping purchases, not because they're more disciplined, but because there's simply less to cope with. 5. Function over flash. Scandinavian design philosophy prioritizes function that lasts over an appearance built to impress. A well-made chair used for 20 years beats a trend-driven one replaced every 3. This isn't about owning nothing. It's the question asked before nearly every purchase. Will this still be useful once nobody's watching me use it? If the honest answer is no, that's usually the tell. Now, 6. And this might be the biggest lever on the entire list. Sweden's public pension system includes something most people have never heard of: a mandatory individual savings component. A small, fixed slice of every paycheck, automatically diverted into long-term investment before it ever reaches a spendable account. Nobody has to remember to do it or feel deprived by it. It simply happens first. Here's the math worth sitting with. $5 a day, roughly a daily coffee habit, set aside and invested, instead comes out to about $1,800 a year. Left to grow for 20 years at a reasonable market return, that's somewhere near $90,000 from a habit small enough to barely notice missing. The lesson isn't about coffee. It's that automating the decision beats willpower every single time. 7. Tålamod. Patience as a practiced skill. Instant purchasing is everywhere. One click, same-day delivery, buy now, pay later for a $5 item. Scandinavian consumer habits lean the opposite direction, from a cultural comfort with simply waiting. A want that shows up today goes on a list instead, revisited in 30 days. More often than expected, the desire has quietly faded by the time 30 days arrives. What's left, the small percentage still genuinely wanted a month later, is usually worth buying. The rest was never really about the object at all. 8. Repair over replace. In 2017, Sweden introduced a tax deduction specifically to make repairing items like shoes, bikes, and clothing cheaper than replacing them. It's a policy that only makes sense if the underlying instinct already existed, that a broken object isn't automatically a dead one. Before repurchasing anything that broke, the question worth asking is simple. What would it actually cost to fix this instead? Repair is very often a fraction of the replacement price. And now, 9, the one that ties every other habit together. Trygghet, a deep, structural sense of safety built into how Scandinavian society is arranged as a whole rather than something any single household has to build alone. A strong social safety net quietly absorbs a lot of the background fear that drives anxious spending elsewhere. What happens if I get sick? What happens if I lose this job? When some of that uncertainty is genuinely handled at a societal level, there's less chronic financial anxiety sitting underneath every other decision, and the other 8 habits get easier to actually keep. This last one, you can't build alone tonight, but it reframes the whole list. These aren't 8 tricks stacked on top of constant fear. They're what's left once a lot of that fear has already been handled somewhere else. 9 habits. A ledger that makes spending visible, collecting what's already yours instead of wasting it. Small, LaGOM-sized improvement instead of a dramatic overhaul that burns out by Wednesday. Work that doesn't need to be medicated with purchases. Function chosen over flash. Saving automated before you can talk yourself out of it. Patience practiced on purpose. Repair chosen before replacement. And underneath all of it, less background fear driving the whole system. This week, don't try all 9 at once. That's the version that fails every time. Pick one. Tonight, if it's the ledger, buy the notebook. This weekend, if it's habit 2, find your nearest Loppis. Comment the number 1 through 9, the one you're actually starting with. And if you're already doing a few of these without knowing they had a name, tell me that too. If this changed how you think about your next purchase, hit subscribe. There's more of this coming every week. And tell me what you want broken down next. Automating habit 6 step by step, or the real story behind Sweden's repair economy. Quiet wealth was never loud to begin with. It's patient, it's automatic, and it's building the entire time nobody's watching.